Hey guys, this is part 2 of my dynamic matrices and indexing video in Python, and I just wanted to continue with talking about nested lists. So the difference between a nested list and a matrix is that a nested list does not have the same dimensions for each row, or in other words, like one row might have 4 columns, another row might have 3, and that's just a nested list and not a matrix. So I'm just going to do an example of one of those. So we're going to call it B. I'm going to do it similar to the last example. We were talking about if you had names or different students' names and the grades for different classes. So let's just say you had 3 different classes and 3 different grades. And then we have another student. So I'm just going to print it first just so y'all can see what it looks like in the shell. But yeah, basically this row has, let's say this row has 4 different grades and the other row has 3 grades. And that's going to be called a nested list. So the indexing for nested lists is basically the same as you would do for a matrix. So let's say we want to print row 1 and then the second column. Remember in my last video we talked about how the indexing is a little weird in Python. You don't say 1 for row 1, you start with 0. So we'd say B bracket 0 and then 1 for column 2. And that should print 86. So I'm just going to put that there. 86. Let's say we want row 2 and we want the last value, so we would say 3. And then after this I'm also going to do an example of if you did an index that's out of the range. So first let's see these. Right, so we printed the nested list, and then 86, 89, those are our expected values. So let's do an example. Let's say you tried to do the 5th element of row 2, which there is no 5th element. That would be bracket 1, bracket 4. And let's see what happens. Alright, so we get this error that says list index out of range. So whenever you see that, that means that there's no value in that spot. And then another thing I want to talk about, negative indexing. Basically, it's kind of just backwards indexing. So you can say, let's say we want the last row of our list. We're going to say -1. And let's say we want the second to last row of our list. That would technically be the first row. We're going to say -2. So it's a little different than just this indexing. You wouldn't say 0. And I'm just going to put here that it should print the last row. Print second to last row, and say we had 3 rows total, then you would just do -3 if you wanted the first row. So look down here because I forgot to get rid of this, but so it printed the last row when we said B -1, printed the first row. Let's do one more, a little bit more specific index. Let's say we want the first row and we want the last value. Be just what you would expect it to be, and that should print 49. There you go. Let's do one more. Let's say we want first row or second to last row, if you want to call it that, and we want the second to last column. That's going to be -2. And that should be 89. There we go. So that's it for indexing. That's all I'm going to show you all for that. And then I just want to show you how to change or add elements of a matrix. I already had this previous example copied from the video before, but just for the sake of showing you guys how to change and add elements, I'm going to use a matrix with even dimensions. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 by, oh wait. Let's see. 2, 3. Not sure why that class is there. But this is a 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4 by 5. So we're just going to print it first. Let's say we want to add a row, or let's say we want to change the third row. We're going to say A bracket 2. So we're going to be specifying which row we want to change on the left side of the equal sign. So we're going to say A, and that's row 3. And let's say we want to change it to Dad, and he's going to have 3 grades. And let's see what happens. Oh, actually we should probably print it. I'm going to get rid of all this. Alright, so right here we can see the original. The third row has Maddie, and then when we print it again, let me just move this out here so you can see the whole thing. So the third row, the first time we print it, has Maddie, and the second row has our new values with Dad as the student. Let's see what happens when we add a 5th column to this and try to change the matrix. So it works if you're changing a row, it will allow you to have like different dimensions for that row. Let's do another example. Let's say we want to change a specific element of the row we just added or changed. So let's say we want to change the second element. So you do A2 is for row 3 and 1 is for column 2. So let's make it 34. And then let's print it. So you can see that it's no longer 89 and it's now 34. Let's do one more. Oh, you can also name a specific row to its own variable. So let's say we want to say Dad as its own variable. We can say A, and then whatever you want to name to that variable. So we want to do row 3, so that would be A bracket 2, and then we want to print that variable. You can do the same with specific elements. So there we go, it printed Dad. That's its own variable now, but it still shows up in the list, or in the, I guess it is a list now, in the nested list. It didn't get rid of it, it's still there, but we just named a new variable. And now let's say we want to add a row. So what we're going to do is we're going to say A equals A plus, bracket, bracket, let's add Mom's row, and for the sake of this, we are going to change this back to 4 rows, or 4 columns. Let's see, it's using some random numbers, and then let's print it. Alright, so now we have that new row, and let's see what happens when we do a row with different dimensions than the rest of the matrix. Still works, so this basically is just now a nested list like I talked about before. So I also want to talk about how to append elements and remove elements. So let's say we have a list called animals. Sorry if y'all can hear my dog in the background. So let's say we want to add an element. You're just going to type the name of the list, and then you're going to type append, and then parentheses, quotes, whatever you want to add. So tiger, and it's single quotes. Tiger, and then let's print. So you can see that it was added there. And then we're going to talk about 3 ways to delete. So the first way, we're just going to say del, the name of our list or array, whatever it is, and then brackets, and then it's kind of like indexing. You're just going to specify what you want to delete. So let's say we want just the second element to be deleted, so we don't want dog anymore. So that you can see that it was deleted. And then let's say you can also use negative indexing. Let's say we wanted to delete the last element. It's going to get rid of tiger. So now that's gone. Another way is to do, you just type the name, dot, kind of like append, dot remove, parentheses, and then you just specify what you want to remove with a string. So let's just get rid of that. And then let's print again. So tiger is gone now. I also want to just comment that the previous method we did with delete, that takes only integers or slices. So that's the only thing you can use to get rid of an element. You can't do like 1, 2, 3. It's only going to take integers or slices. So then the last way, it only takes integers as an argument. So you're going to say the name dot pop, and if we want to get rid of, how many do we have now? We have 4 elements, so let's say we want to get rid of the 4th element. You're just going to say 3. So now tiger is gone using that method. I hope this video helped you guys, and I hope to see you in the next one.